Anyway, like I say, the whole thing was what was the whole basis of it was that my name was Brian, and people just didn't know that I was Lucifer Star, LS or LC, the leader of Lucifer Star line. Epic Mining, curved spindle wheels and stuff like that, and all that. Owner of the Panama Canal and all that other stuff. And until I made it public, until everyone knew who I was, there's a possibility that they could kill Brian, me. So, and then basically, or kidnap me, keep me from telling the world that I was actually Lucifer Star. So, and between the point in time when I told the world or people found out who I was, then there's a possibility of them me, and then I would be dead and no one would know who I was, and they could be like, I'm the American president. They could be like that, and that's basically their whole plan. Basically, was kill me when I'm 9 years old, and then basically lie to the whole world. So, yeah, and cover up everything. So anyway, yeah, that was the whole plan of Richard Nixon, John McCain, Rodney Briley, Rick Bush. A lot of people were basically just going to kill me, and pretty much, I owned all these underground mining colonies and stuff like this and that, and epic mining and doing epic smelting and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like this really rich, powerful person, but it's like, well, I love to mine. What can I say? Who doesn't like mining? Like anybody who starts digging underground. Like once you get down there underground and you're digging under there, I mean, it's like an addiction, really. I mean, it's like, what else can we do? I mean, believe me, it's addictive. Like most of the miners will tell you, especially nowadays with all the explosives and all the technology and everything else, it's like, let's mine, let's dig some mines, and you get under there and you get down there and you start working down there and you're digging these big trenches and doing all this really cool stuff and you're seeing all the metal that's coming from it. It's like, yeah, you don't even really need to do it. You just do it because it's cool. It's like, what else are you gonna do? Sit on the surface and go, let's watch the grass grow. I mean, it's fun down there. You're doing something, and it's like doing something for the first time and all that. So I mean, most miners would tell you, once you start doing it, it's kind of like space travel. Once you start getting into the space travel and the mining and stuff, it becomes like an addiction. It's like, let's do this, and then you're mining and you're seeing all kinds of new crystals and new kinds of elements, and you're like, what is it? And you're seeing all these things that you've never seen before. I mean, these things aren't really naturally occurring in space. I mean, it takes millions of years to get stuff like this, to get matter like this. I mean, and you're discovering things, and you're going tracing back to your roots. And you're looking at the stuff, and it's like, yeah, it's just like that. And you're like, that's weird. And you're like, well, that's that, and that's this, and you're like, well, how'd that form? And and there's also photographs and pictures, and all kinds of stuff. I mean, once you start doing it, you kind of get into it, and then, like I said, it becomes like an addiction, and then you're just doing it, and I mean, anybody who's been in the business a long time will tell you that yeah, once you start doing it, and it goes all the way back to Stonehenge. Like I paid for Stonehenge. I did this too, and they had an ice skating ring on there and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, there's 10,000 or a billion years of evolution existence, and like there's and there's like I mean, there's all this history and stuff, and it's all over the place, and it's on other planets too. I mean, we're just one of the planets, and there's all these caves, and you're wondering, well, what does it all mean? Where did it all come from? It's like, well, over billions of years, 100 trillion years of events and stuff. And once you start getting into it, you start realizing, well, there's all these crazy people, and they just thought they had discovered something that whatever. I mean, anyway, it's just there's some crazy people that were running around, and stuff like that, and they were also like poisoning people and stuff like that, and like getting away with stuff, and it was all bad and stuff, and they were just trying to get me eventually. Anyway, whatever. I mean, like I said, that they're keeping people from talking to Mars because they were the only ones talking to Mars because they thought there was going to be a armada, a space armada, waiting there for them. So they're trying to get to Mars and then break away from the group, and then go to the space armada, which they found out was a bit smaller than expected. And then they were trying to torture the little 1.5s into getting them to build bigger ships, but the 1.5s just ran deeper into the mountain, and the people couldn't follow them because, they're 1.5. They don't need that much space. So anyway, and it didn't really work out for them. So anyway, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of colonies out there in space. So anyway, and just Richard Nixon and a bunch of people in the White House were trying to keep it from everyone else from being known. And the miners and everybody else were starting to realize that there's this weird like conspiracy going on. And it's like, well, what's going on? Why? Like, well, they're trying to kill me. Yeah, I was epic inventor and epic creator and 800 galaxies and this massive, amazing person with all of these photographs and pictures, and Richard Nixon and John McCain, who were in the White House, thought they could just like confuse the facts and everything and start a war and kill off all the people that were helping me and then kill me or something like that. And it was just crazy, but they didn't know how the system worked. They didn't know who to talk to. They didn't know where I was or who I was. And nobody would tell them. So anyway, by the time they figured out who I was, they had already basically killed their way through quite a few people. So everyone was like, whoa, yeah, those people are psycho. So anyway, whatever, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that a lot of people basically realized, who I was or who LS was, and realized that I was someone, if not the creator of humanity. If I wasn't the creator of humanity, then I was someone. And I named America, for one thing, and invented the word gold. So, Anyway, yeah. So it's a lot of craziness. I mean, and I don't really care. It's just like, well, this is what I remember. This is the best I know. LS, Lucifer Star, white dams, white buildings. As I built things, I added style. I had commemorations. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Silver spoons, silver eating ware for my people. Stuff like that. It's like, I don't really care, but this is the way it was. My buildings, my spiral wheels go back hundreds of thousands of millions of years. I mean, a lot of these processes I either invented or they're being done by my companies. And, you don't really need all that much to live, but, and that's why it's like, well, I named the country and created some laws and stuff, and why my life forms being treated a certain way. Anyway, someone else was trying to say that they created humans and they could treat humans any way they wanted. And it's like, no, you can't. You can't just go around killing people, even if they live inside your country, or even if you are the genetic creator of these life forms. You can't treat them any way you want. That's not okay. I created due process and laws and everything else so people could get along, and contracts and all that. So anyway, whatever. We tried all these different things and they kind of work. And there's lots of different ways of mining and getting minerals and stuff like that. And it's like hundreds of years of science. So anyway, whatever. Or you can just use lots of heat and bake it down. Yeah. If you want, you can just throw things in and have things working at 100,000 degrees and use a what's called a you can use the bubble, or you can create or you can just run the processors at like at like 100,000 degrees. But of course you might get a lot of radiation that way. What's called asbestos and ceramics, basically thingy, and you have to use graphite rods or something, and you just pump the power into it, basically like a hydro dam, just and what you get basically is pretty much gold and all kinds of stuff, but it might be radioactive. I don't know, somewhat. I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, we were doing it a long time ago. So anyway, yeah. So lots of people, it's metallurgy and metal stuff is like 1 million years old, or a couple 100 trillion years old. Anyway, yeah. So the sun's actually just a big smelter, big nuclear smelting machine. Anyway, whatever.